the agent that doesn't use AI is going to be the one that gets left behind. Real estate will always be a contact sport. It will never replace the agent. Everybody wants leads, but let's be honest, they want closes, they want transactions. Incorporating AI can actually increase your human component, increase your engagement.
Hello, RWorld. Welcome back to another episode of RWorld Talk. We've heard some feedback from you guys. Today happens to be TechCon. We are live on site at TechCon up at the Doubletree in Deerfield Beach. Lucky enough to have pulled Michael Ward from Speculo AI off of the stage, brought him into our makeshift podcast studio to have a chat about the technology that is really going to impact your business moving forward. So, Michael, welcome. Thank you for being with us.
Appreciate it, Chris. Yeah, thanks.
So, Michael, why don't you share with us a little bit about your background, what led you to join Speculo AI as the chief growth officer, and what excites you the most about combining tech with real estate?
Yeah, I mean, the story is long and distorted, but essentially last while in real estate, last 10 years has been just a focus on lead generation. And, I had the fortunate pleasure of being at Op City as a director there. Obviously there was a purchase there from Realtor.com, and I sat in a chair as a director of Realtor as well, and just got to see behind the curtain of all the things that were innovatively being applied in the real estate world from a portal perspective. There's a lot to that story, but ultimately it led me to an executive opportunity at Keller Williams. My wife and I have been at Keller Williams for about 10 years, and we've got a team over there. During that time, I came across Riley and Kyle, the founders of Speculo, and they were driving lead generation at such a high level that I just could not ignore it. With my background in lead gen, it allowed me to really know who was selling snake oil and who was doing it right. And they were just doing it at such a high level that I ended up introducing a massive amount of our we call them market centers, and top agent teams in their direction. And over the time since then, I've just stayed in touch with them and consulted with them on how they were building and how they were shaping. And through another conversation through a friend that was building an AI talk platform 2 years ago, I managed to connect them together. And now we have this exceptional tool that is our AI-enabled lead generation that engages with not only your database, but the top-performing leads inside of your pay-per-click ecosystem as well. And so that now I was just happened to have an opportunity to come on board, and they said it's organic. I don't know why you're not doing this already. And so now I'm here as the chief growth officer to really expand and grow in that next market.
Wow, fantastic. Well, we're happy that you're in that role and able to bring that to Beaches MLS and our RWorld membership. At the beginning of 2025, ArtSmart AI published some stats that revealed 75% of leading U.S. brokerages have adopted AI technologies and are integrating them into their operations. Obviously, this should be 100% in this day and age, but why do you think real estate has been slower in adopting these tech pieces compared to other industries?
Yeah, I think it's got a lot to do with the boogeyman of
I love that.
Agents are going to be replaced by AI.
Sure.
Right? It's a constant conversation on multiple stages. And the truth is that, AI is not replacing agents. What it's doing is it's replacing excuses for not being at your best or engaging with your highest productive opportunities.
Sure.
The agent that doesn't use AI is going to be the one that gets left behind. It's an unfortunate reality of the world, but it's the truth. And so I think we should take note that those who have adopted AI, I think one thing is, 75% of brokerages is great. I would say a very small portion of them are actually using it in the way that they should to drive opportunities for their agents.
Yeah, I'm sure in that stat, there's the few people at the brokerage that are just using ChatGPT to come up with a property description. So like, I use AI all the time.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, 70% of the time someone can come up with the stat. Right?
Sure.
The stat. But yeah, I think that, the slow adoption is just based on the fear. And I think as well, trust. I think that there's, like any new bell curve that comes with a new product, there's your early adopters and then there's your laggards. And
right.
I think that right now we're at that stage where we haven't even hit the top of the bell curve of adoption yet.
Right.
But I think it's very clear that after social media came through and the internet came through, the real estate industry is understanding if we don't jump on this new innovation, we are going to get left behind. So
Yeah, it's funny because you talk about the boogeyman, and it wasn't that long ago that we were hearing that AI in Portugal has now closed so many transactions and whatnot. And what they didn't report, which is so funny what the media sometimes does, but what they didn't report is that there was actually a realtor that was involved in every one of those transactions. It was not working with a robot in order to go and purchase this home.
yeah, I think it's really important that people understand that, incorporating AI can actually increase your human component, increase your engagement.
Right.
Your database for the majority of people and a majority of teams is, you're just like I mentioned on stage, is like a graveyard. Like you may have 60,000 people in your database, but how many of them are you actually touching, right? And so it can really get you the chance to be more fluid with your database, more fluid with the conversations, and then allow you that chance to stand out from the crowd.
And not just touching with a newsletter. You actually have to reach out to people. Like the real person who they're going to be working with needs to reach out to that consumer.
I can't stress it enough that the goal of what we do at Speculo is to increase conversations, human to human engagement. And that's really what you should be using it for.
Right, absolutely. So the real estate tech space is becoming increasingly competitive. How does Speculo AI stand out from other lead gen and engagement platforms?
Yeah, so I would say ultimately we stand out in the respect of letting you keep your ownership of your world, right? A lot of people build these Frankenstein models of something for lead gen, something for nurture, something for data reporting, something for operations, and before you know it, you've got all these things and you have no idea how to operate them all, and it can be exceptionally overwhelming. Where we stand out is we can actually help you to eliminate 4 or 5 of those tools and bring it into one house, which ultimately frees up more time for you, right? As well, it lowers your expenses ultimately, and that's a really big goal of ours, is to utilize a platform like ours to lower your P&L and increase your profitability. So, by bringing all of these tools that you have right now in 4 or 5 various platforms into one house like we've built, it allows you to really streamline your growth. And so, that's one point I would make as well. Our ability to not only, re-engage with your database. I think that's number one. That's a big thing for us. So that graveyard I talk about, us, the ability for us to dive in right away and help you to turn over those rocks and find those people that you may not have engaged with in a while. Jonathan mentioned it on stage. I thought it was really well said that past clients want to work with you. I'm sorry, he hates the word past clients. I heard him say that. But clients you've worked with previously, they want to work with you again.
They do.
And so the point of utilizing an AI and a re-engagement opportunity allows you to find those people and continue to be in front of them, right? Top of mind is what converts into opportunities.
Yeah, so NAR did release a stat that talked about, let's say it was 70-something% of people wanted to use the same realtor that they used last time. Yeah. But then when you look at the stat of how many people actually did use the same realtor, it was like vastly lower. And it's because you are not following up with that person. Yeah. They forgot who sold them the last house, or they didn't know that you were still in the business because you didn't contact them.
Yeah, well, that's right. And I think what differentiates an agent nowadays is like you can really transcend any type of market fluctuation if you have an exceptional sphere and an exceptionally warm database. And it's nobody's fault that these past clients go with someone else other than, you're not doing or implementing the right tools or systems to stay in touch with them, right? Whether it is a nurture campaign, whether it is a solid newsletter, or just, marking down when their birthday is or what have you, right? The handwritten notes. I think those things are really impactful. And so a tool like ours, utilizing our re-engage ecosystem, allows you to do that. Then as well, our conversion flow, our ability with our AI, if you run a pay-per-click campaign with us, or even from the perspective of finding that gold inside your database, we can connect within 60 seconds, right?
Wow.
Our AI can connect and have a conversation in 60 seconds and do the thing that everybody loves, which is a live transfer to an agent on YouTube.
Right.
That's huge, right? Because that conversation, and that's what we're striving for, is conversion to conversation, actual connection to a human. It changes the game. Another stat, the stat still holds true that the first person to meet with their opportunity it gets the listing or the buyer opportunity 70% of the time. So you want to be that person that sits at the table. And so our re-engagement allows for that to happen. And I think, we really just stand out in our ability to cover all facets as well. If someone has a conversation with our virtual assistant, our virtual, let's just call it an assistant, I guess, it then allows that assistant to make notes. If someone says, I'm not ready for 6 months, I'm not ready for 12 months, it will document that and then establish a cadence of continual touch every month until it gets to a place where someone is ready. Well, that's a huge win for you, because if it documents it in your CRM, you can shut that AI off and tell your agent to be the one to touch base.
Just pick up where they left off.
Exactly. Again, incorporating the human component at an earlier point, right? So those are a couple of things that we do just a little bit different. And then ultimately what we want to be the platform that turns you as an agent or a leader into a portal, right?
Right.
We know the big names, we know the big portals, we know that people pay 40% referral fees, we know that some of them they sell leads multiple times to multiple agents. And imagine a world where you are the portal, where that 20,000 person database is engaged by you, and you're the one that now controls the lead volume that goes out. You get to keep the data, and you're not paying a 40% fee. It's not sold to multiple agents. We want that power to be in every single one of our clients' hands. So, people become reliant on these portals as oxygen for their business. Well, the problem is like now you wake up every morning, you get an email in your inbox that says you're not doing the things you're supposed to do, and guess what? I'm going to shut this off. Nobody wants to be held for ransom in their business by some random big portal as somebody that isn't a real human telling you that you can't now feed your agents, right?
Right.
In Austin, we're in Dripping Springs. We have 6 families on our team that have, trusted us to run and support them towards their goals. We have 6 agents who have families. And a big thing for me is like, I would never want a faceless corporation dictating if I can achieve that with them. And so this gives you the chance to be a portal. This gives you a chance to run your business, support your team, and do it at the highest level.
That's incredibly powerful in this business. A funny story I had about 5 years ago, went up to New York to meet with one of the big portals because I was making a big lead purchase for my team that was going to have a very hefty monthly fee attached to it. And I was getting phone calls from them, and finally ended up getting to go up to New York City, sit in the office of this big company. I said, I'd like to meet Sean. And they're like, who's Sean? I'm like, the guy that calls me all the time with these leads, like to do the warm handoff. They're like, you've been talking to artificial intelligence. And that was like my first taste of it. I was blown away because I couldn't believe that there was somebody who I was having full-on conversations with, as if they were a regular office assistant that was saying, hey, I've got somebody on the line. You could ask me questions. It was telling me all kinds of info. And then lo and behold, you get up there and realize that I was talking to artificial intelligence the entire time.
Feel?
Blew my mind. But at the same time, he was getting the job done. It was warm handoffs. The person on the other end of the phone was pleased with the service that they just got from talking to artificial intelligence. I thought that was absolutely wild. And that was 5 years ago before, anything really started to take off mainstream in the AI world. So that was pretty shocking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why don't you tell us, your motto seems to center on creating more conversations. So why do you think those meaningful conversations are really the key to success in real estate?
Yeah. Real estate will always be a contact sport, and to the same tonality that it will never replace the agent, right? And so everybody wants leads, but let's be honest, they want closes, they want transactions, right? And so I think that it's exceptionally important to focus on continual engagement that then results in a conversion, a warmer down the funnel lead, because otherwise you are spending a lot of your dollar productive time trying to find out who's real and who's not with regards to your future. But if you can bring that to the doorstep a lot quicker, it allows you to then focus on other efforts like creating those warmer touches I'm trying to avoid saying past clients, for clients that you have worked with previously.
Jonathan, you made an impact.
Yeah, way to go, Jonathan. But it allows you to really focus on the things that continually build your business, right? You're not just forward focused. And I think that that's the big thing is we need to pivot our mindset from being only acquisition focused of new clients, because then you turn around and you have 100,000 people in your database, but what are you doing to then turn that into opportunities?
Right.
So I think as well, when you're focused on a conversion market and you're focused on things that are further in the funnel, more about that person than you typically do the random person that clicked an ad.
Right.
And it's what you do next with that matters. Yes, you're going to do an exceptional job. And if you're coaching your agents at the highest level, they should get 2 referrals off of every single closed transaction. And so this actually, by getting leads that are further in the funnel, it helps to support and validate that opportunity, right? When we're going to hand over a lead to an agent and say, this is every single thing I know about this person, it then allows that conversation to be a lot warmer, right? And then from that, immediately that feeling that that agent has and that that potential client has identifies that this person knows me, they get my goals, they get what I want. So that's why it matters to have those leads come so further in the funnel. And that's a cool thing about what we do with our AI is that it can take notes on life events that are going on in these conversations, make those notes and hand them to the agent. You can set just a notation in there or tags that then allow it to be handed off to an agent, an actual person, a lot sooner.
So they might mention in a phone call that their birthday was last weekend, and you take no note during that conversation to write something down or put it into your CRM that their birthday you happen to now know was the weekend before the time that they talked. But
that's right.
AI could do that for you.
And that matters, right? It matters not just in the initial output, but in the after that you have. Because like I said, on our team, we do half birthdays for our client lists. And
that was a brilliant idea, by the way. Only the TechCon people got to hear about that stuff. But
I won't share too much about it here. But the idea is that it's an automatic touch point that makes somebody recognize that you recognize them, right? And that matters. That matters to people. So I think the importance of having those further in the funnel conversions just helps to support your agents, streamline your processes, and then ultimately it leads to a warmer database, not from whose transaction, but what your awareness of that database is.
Right. So Speculo AI offers tools like Engage Flow, Convert Flow, and Revive Flow. Could you explain what makes those features unique and how they enhance lead generation?
Yeah, so Revive is obviously something that we talked about from a perspective of going into your graveyard of a database that may be robust. I know it sounds glib, but it's the truth.
I've got 20,000 people and I haven't talked to 19,999 of them.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, it's just this false market where that used to be the way you found out how validated or how big an agent was. It's like, how big is your database? Well, how warm and how nurture rich is your database? Like,
right.
How many of these are actually converting? And if all you're doing is, adding more leads on top of those leads, are you actually engaging with them? So, the Revive is an opportunity for you to go and start turning over those stones. And what you would typically send a new agent to do that just joined your team, why not, have that same new agent get into something that is actually converted, like it's ready to convert. And it can save them time instead of having 90 days to work something that may or may result in 2 transactions. What if they went in the first 90 days and it resulted in 20 transactions?
Yeah.
So that's the entire piece of the Revive is the chance to sit there and turn over these stones and get in there and go, you know what, of my 100,000 people database, a lot of them are bad data. Some of these people aren't even alive. 10% of them moved.
Yeah.
I'm not as well positioned as I thought.
I think that's an incredible piece inside that tool. I've got a really good friend of mine who has gone through prospects of buyer agents. She's a one-woman show, sells a ton of real estate, massive database, but does not have the bandwidth to follow up with all of these people from the years that she's been in the business.
Yeah.
So she keeps trying new buyer agents, and the buyer agents are not following up with the database the way that she would follow up with it, or they simply are just not good on the phone, or the emails aren't coming out right. That's an incredible tool for somebody like her that now has, you talk about the wealth that could be contained in that database, and having something that's running automated, middle of the night, you've got leads that are being generated through the Revive flow. Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah. It really does give you a chance to understand the health of your business, right?
Yeah.
And not walk on this false, because I guarantee those people that have 100,000 people in their database probably aren't saying it, but they're like, but I don't know how much it's worth. And I'll tell you what, you want to look at the ability to think about scaling and what your exit strategy is for your business, right? This is something that I'll tell you. A lot of us get in here, and in any traditional business, you should think about the end in mind, right? At what point am I going to get rid of this, and what does that look like? Well, nobody wants to put 20 to 30 years into their business and then all of a sudden just shut the doors.
Right.
Your database, if it's valuable and it's nurture rich and you know how much it's worth, is worth something to you when you want to exit. So understanding and using a Revive flow to go, you know what? I've got about 80% of my 100,000 people database that is ready to go because I found out about them. I then deployed some campaigns. I now have some hand raisers. I understand what it's worth. So if someone is going to buy it from me, I can understand how much it would actually bring me an opportunity. Otherwise it's worth nothing.
Right.
And so utilizing a Revive flow allows you to understand your database. the engage flow is just, how are we constantly engaging with our database, right? The email campaigns, the newsletters, the happy birthday opportunities, even the check-ins. Would you like a home valuation? Maybe you're running in a tax appraisal season, whatever it may be.
Right.
That allows you to do that, and it gives you the chance to. Sure, you just moved somebody into a home 2 years ago, but maybe they had a life event that's causing them to have to get out earlier, right? Staying top of mind is what makes them make that choice. I would work with my agent again, but I didn't hear from them at all. So that engaged side is what that covers. And the
Yeah,
commercial,
people are always dying, divorcing, and having babies.
Oh, yeah.
It's
All
going to
the
happen at
humans,
some
right?
point.
Yeah, I mean, all those D's are real. And so I think, you need to have that engaged flow, but it's a set it and forget it. And, a lot of times the old school way is to pay that one person a large salary that does that for you. Don't get me wrong. I love that. I personally love the handwritten notes. Like I said, we do golden letter campaigns. We do happy birthdays, and that's all done by a unit. But I think that there's this.
Because you've got time to do that, because you've got AI working your database for
Well,
it.
that's right. That's right. But this is that thing. Doing this now is what will be the difference maker when the market turns, right?
Sure.
The first thing that when the market turns, everybody's doing is spending thousands of dollars on leads. But imagine if you are one of 10,000 people all yelling the same thing at the same time in the same direction to one person. But imagine if your database is so nurture rich and top of mind, you got 6,000 people there that you know what's going on. You know when you reach out to them last. You know what's happening in their life. The last time they open an email, that transcends any market, right? We've been blessed on our team that we've been able, despite the shifts, to stay consistent in our production and our volume because we have an exceptionally healthy database. And that's what we hand to our agents. I think everybody should be focused on that. Go and spend the money on the pay-per-clicks because that's the next thing we cover is our convert. We, again, like I said, our convert flows, our pay-per-click campaigns convert an exceptionally high rate. And if you were interested in that, please call us. Let's get a demo, and we'll share that information with you. But, imagine a world where that comes in and it shows up on your dashboard and you're like, great, I'm going to hand that to my agent. And then you're constantly checking, did you call? Did you call? Did you call?
Right.
24 hours goes by, 48 hours goes by, 72 hours goes by, still no call. Our technology will call within 60 seconds of that pay-per-click campaign conversion coming. Now, the route is ad scene to IDX site to submission, first name, last name, email, phone number, address sometimes.
Wow.
So the idea is, and everybody in your database that cannot say
So you're talking rich data.
yeah, you have to have those 4 points of contact. If you want to consider your database nurture rich, 4 points of contact, those have to be there. Don't worry about address. We can get that later, but those 4 points. But our leads that show up will then be engaged within 60 seconds. And the goal is not to get a deeper conversation with AI. It's to then transfer them to a live transfer to an agent to have a physical conversation. Now, imagine if that lead isn't, hey, I saw you clicked on our ad. Imagine if it was like, hey, Chris, I've got Brian on the other line. He's got a $500,000 house for sale. He's lived there for 7 years. And right now his mortgage rate is about 3.5%. Now he's fine that the mortgage rate is 7%. It doesn't concern him because him and his wife are actually downsizing. His equity is about $300,000 in that house. And like all of that, would you like a transfer? Yes. Yes.
Heck yeah.
And then you're able to go and you're able to talk to that and say, Brian, how are you? Like, I hear you guys are looking to downsize. That's exciting. Tell me about that. And you can start moving into a trust building conversation with that lead. So that's the convert flow. So all of these things touch multiple pieces of your database and your business, not only forward, but backwards.
Amazing. So real estate generates a wealth of data, which we're talking about now, but a lot of real estate professionals really struggle to translate that data into actionable insights. So how can AI bridge that gap specifically?
Data into actionable insights. I think the best way you can do it is to start putting into buckets of like what your traditional outreaches are, right?
Okay.
So I think when you think about your database, there's your downsizers. There's your upsizers, right? Life events that happen there. And I think you can use life events as ways to create these buckets. There's people that have, that are retiring. They have a lot of equity in their home. So I typically classify those as anyone that's been in a house for 10 to 15 years. Those are those people that probably have a lot of equity that they're looking to move on. Each one of these things has a specific conversation, right? And we can create campaigns specific for those conversations using our AI. Well, we develop a script. And the script can match the culture of your brand. So the idea here is like, I would say you should, take the data you have about your about your database, I like tools like Fellow. I think Fellow is great because it brings a lot of data insights, data rich about your database. But the thing about it too is like, what are you then doing with that data?
Right.
And I think you dive in and create buckets and of outreach opportunities based on what you know. And so ultimately you don't necessarily want to every single time use that data to this level. Ask. You want to give, right? Give.
Sure.
To have one at trust ask. I'm you trust as like a bank account. Okay. And every time you're giving, you're building equity with that person.
Right.
So continue to give them as much as you can. Maybe it's data insights. Maybe it's like, if you know somebody potentially could be an upsizer, 5 neighborhoods where, that are super kid friendly with great school systems.
Every person who's a homeowner wants to know what's going on in their market and how much their home is worth. I mean, you might not even be thinking about selling a property or moving anywhere else. You just want to know. It's such a great give to just hand this off to somebody, and you could use AI to pull the data that you're getting from your association, your MLS, and say, here's all the data for the last month or the last year over year.
Right.
I need you to explain this to me in a 5th grade level.
Right.
And now just take that and send it out to the consumers.
And you should be the conduit of that education. You should be the one that's bringing that to them. If you're taking it from those places like, Inman or any of these other groups that are news publications, plus the information you get from Zillow and Realtor.com, put it in your AI, sell your AI to grab it, then take that information and you should be the conduit of conversation for that, right? Because again, you're building trust and
otherwise they're going to a portal looking for it.
That's exactly right. And that portal is then going to take your client from you.
Yep.
When you become the portal, it's not just about them going to your site. You become the trust that is there. You're building this trust bank account, and then you realize you've got enough equity there. You can go in for the ask. Who do you know that I should know that's moving a house or potentially moving to your area?
Yep, absolutely. So last one for you, and we'll let you get back to Texas. But if you could design a dream AI tool that doesn't exist yet, what would it do, and how would it impact the industry?
I would create one that showed people how to build alternative businesses outside of their real estate business.
That's a good answer.
I think that there's a big world out there where people tend to put all their buckets into one thing as realtors, and it's an exceptionally stressful position.
Yeah. And a market change leaves you depressed and broke. And
and you realize you have it diversified, and you don't realize that until it's too late.
Absolutely.
And so like on our team, the agents that we've selected that are with us, that trust us, they have entrepreneurial endeavors. They have other investment strategies. They do ask the question when they go to see somebody's house, is this something I should buy? And so I think I would create an AI tool that shows them the opportunities that exist in their world and understands their life goals and then presents those things to them based on how they're engaged with their career. And I think, people should be creating a flywheel in their life. I've talked about this recently on our podcast, where every piece of your business touches itself and goes back to the top, right? So you spend money on leads. Those leads go to conversations and conversions. Those conversions go to revenue. That revenue goes to opportunities. Opportunities go back to spending money on leads. And so you're just continually touching itself. And I think I would definitely create an AI ecosystem where someone could realize the potential that they have to start other businesses based on the success that they've seen from their real estate career.
Incredible. Well, you just gave that out to everybody, so now they're going to steal it.
Some old brags on the table. Let's go. I'm in. I'm totally in.
Michael, thank you so much for being with us. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for doing TechCon. Guys, I have said this before. I think I just said it last week. If you don't sign up for TechCon, we always sell out. One of the best events that we do each year, super low ticket price, and you get to hear from guys like Michael Ward talk about tools for your business that are actionable. We've got actionable items right here at TechCon that you can use in order to support and expand and grow your business. So we will see you guys at the next TechCon, and we will see you right back here next Friday, 8 a.m. on RWorld Talk.